So it looks like our quarantine is going to be more like a marathon. Hey guys, Omar here. I'm sure some of you have been discovering new skills or maybe using your quarantine time in a very creative way. So in this video, I invite you to try something new this month, something I've been playing around with the last few weeks, the last few months, improving the quality of the music you enjoy. Like actually sitting and listening and taking in the music and feeling it without any distractions. So in the last few weeks, I've done a couple of things that have improved the sound of the music coming out, and I want to share them with you. So if you're an experienced audiophile, most of these tips aren't for you. We're targeting beginner folks who've only listened to music on maybe these, or an Amazon Echo, or just regular old workout earbuds. Now, by the way, on the topic of audiophiles, this is a very passionate group, more than the photography group, people debating cameras and sensors and lenses. They debate weird things like cables and electrical current, vinyl versus digital. It's crazy. I just want the music to sound great, and that's what we're going to focus on. Things you can do to make the music sound great. Now, audiophiles use the weirdest language when describing sound.
Pizzazz, they have snap.
Full and pressurizing.
There is a little bit of muddiness.
Imaging is going to be tighter and it's going to be a lot more intimate.
It had enough tube juiciness to keep me happy.
All this energy, but there's some warmth to the sound.
Satisfying bass.
They have shove.
Okay, so let's give you some tips on ways that you can improve the way your music sounds. All right, let's start with tip number one. This one is totally obvious, but let's start with the music itself. Listen to music that you enjoy. In this little audiophile journey I've started, I made the mistake of just collecting a bunch of music that can show off your speakers, but I didn't really enjoy. It's best if you start sampling songs that you're familiar with, stuff you've heard your whole life. And that way, each time you make an improvement to this whole audio thing, you'll see it. You'll be able to hear it. So when you sample songs that you're familiar with, because it's going to be so much easier to hear the improvements as you go through this little journey. So number one, stick to the music you know. Tip number two, now we're going to talk speakers later on, but if you don't have any of that, it's probably best to start with a decent pair of headphones. First of all, if this is all you know, then a good pair of headphones are going to make a huge difference. Now, real audiophiles, they spend thousands of dollars on quality headphones. Us regular folk can probably get away with spending a lot less. So let's start with just some typical examples of good headphones. Now, a good place to start is the Audio-Technica M50s. These are pretty good headphones, and even Marques Brownlee's did a video on how these were so much better than the more trendy and more expensive Beats headphones. They have a full bassy sound while still giving you great clarity. And if the type of music you prefer demands more clarity and less bass, then you can go with the cheaper M40s. They're a great buy. So the M40s and the M50s are closed ear headphones. That means they cup around your ears. They give you, they kind of close out some of the sound from the outside. They're cushy. And so they're really nice to listen to. These headphones, the Sennheiser HD6XX, these are an open back headphone, which give you a completely different experience than the Audio-Technicas or any kind of closed headphones. They give you a sense of space, of sound stage. So if you like good recordings of jazz or classical, these are amazing. They just give you a sense of being there with the band. Now, these guys didn't have enough bass for example, Biggie's track, Hypnotize. Oh, I love that. These guys lack the oomph. And these headphones need a lot of amplification. You actually have to put them through an amp to give them enough power to get you the full experience. Now, the one downside is that everyone can hear what you're listening to since the sound comes out of here. So forget that Frozen 2 soundtrack. Now, many of you are locked up with your family members and they're driving you crazy and your neighbor keeps mowing their lawn because they're bored to death. So for that, look into the Sony Bluetooth noise canceling headphones. These are awesome. They have 3 modes. You can use them as like regular old headphones, just like the M50s. They have an ambient mode, which lets you hear your kids fighting in the next room. And of course, they have a noise canceling mode, which is game changing. I mean, when you put these on for the first time, it's like falling into a void, your own world, your own little listening studio. I can't recommend these enough if you want a new listening experience. They're amazing. Tip number 3, get a DAC. A DAC is a digital to analog converter. Now this takes all your digital music, your ones and zeros, and changes it to waves, sound waves that you can pick up in your headphones or speakers. Now your phone, your computer, they all have DACs to change your Spotify digital music to analog so we can hear it. But the DACs in your phone and the DACs in your computers, they aren't really good unless you have something like an LG phone. Some LG phones have what's called the quad DAC in them. But that apparently sounds a lot better than maybe your iPhone or your Google Pixel. Anyway, for me, the biggest impact was getting an external DAC. Something to send my computer digital music into the DAC and then either into my headphones or into my speakers. Now, for example, take the song Turn Your Lights Down Low by Bob Marley. I've heard that song a bunch of times. I like that song. It's amazing. But I rarely experience that song the way it was meant to be experienced. It's an example of a beautifully spacious song, a song with a lot of soundstage, with Bob Marley here, percussion there, a little cymbal, Now before listening without a DAC, the song of course was totally good, but after the DAC, I could just hear all these little things. And so that's a good song. If you get a DAC, try that song. So this is the first DAC. This is an Ear Studio ES100 DAC. This was the first DAC I bought. Now this little guy acts as a DAC, but it's also a headphone amplifier. So if you plug your headphones into your phone and hear good music, and then you plug the same headphones into the Ear Studio, you'll be like, whoa. Now music is sent via Bluetooth to this little device, and then to your headphones when you plug it in, and it just sounds amazing. And the company also has an app that lets you fine-tune your music experience. It has an equalizer, you could see what bit rate your music is. So my first DAC was a hit. Another popular choice is the Audio Quest Dragonfly. That's this little guy here. It comes in a few different flavors, black, red, and cobalt. This DAC plugs into the USB, of your computer, and has a little headphone out jack. So you could use it with your computer to get better music out of your computer, but you could also get a little USB dongle so that you can connect it to your phone. I've been connecting my iPad to this little guy and running it into my speaker system in my movie room, and it's been pretty good. But to me, the Ear Studio sounds better if you're going with mobile audio or you're just listening from your computer. But on the go, this is a great little device. But of all the DACs, the one that wowed me the most was this shit Modi. Yes, that is how you say the company's name. It's a pretty simple device. It has a USB in port, so you can connect audio from your computer into the little shit Modi. And then you can either connect it to your stereo amp. That's what I do. I connect it to my stereo amp so you can have the music come out of your speakers. Or you could get more shit, like this Valley 2. This is a tube headphone amp that sits on top of my Modi. So the Modi gets hooked up to the Valley, and the Valley goes out to my cheap receiver, this little cheapo stereo receiver I have, so I could listen, and that goes to my Klipsch speakers so I can get full sound. I also have a subwoofer hooked up to this. Now back to these Sennheiser 6XX, these guys sound amazing when you hook them up to the Valley 2. Now you could get all super dorky. I actually changed the tube on this tube amp and it made it sound even better, but all the stuff is gonna drive you crazy as you go down this audiophile road. Don't do it! Tip number 4, if you're listening with speakers, take your room into account. A large, echoey room is gonna sound terrible. Try to be in a smaller room and try to throw a rug or have a room with more furniture. The listening experience will improve if your room is treated. Tip number 5, moving your speakers around. You know, when I was a little kid, I used to take these small bookshelf speakers and lay them on the ground and actually lie between them so that I would feel like I was in the spacious listening room. For you youngins out there, we had no video games. This is what we used to do, just listen to music. I used to listen to Michael Jackson's Thriller album on vinyl just with these little speakers laying on the floor. Anyway, the point is you don't need to buy new speakers. I almost replaced my early 2000 Klipsch RB25s. I was gonna upgrade to better speakers, but instead I found the perfect angle for them. All my music sounds like it's coming from this beautiful, nice little space in front of me, the soundstage. This floatiness. See, I can make up my own words. Anyway, find that perfect spot where your music sounds amazing. Move your speakers. Tip number 6, investigate the source. Not all recordings of music are great. You'll find you can have the best listening equipment, the best DAC, the best speakers, but if the recording is trash, it's not gonna sound any good. For example, take Steely Dan's track Peg, okay? By the way, if you're a De La Soul fan, you're gonna recognize that track. Now that's an incredible recording. It's beautifully recorded and it sounds amazing. It has great soundstage. Now listen to that and then listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers album, Californication. That is a horrible, horrible recording. It's really compressed and there isn't much soundstage. It's just like, So that's that's how different two recordings can be. Tip number 7, your source can vary. You could be listening from a CD or from vinyl or from digital streaming, and not all digital streaming is built the same. Spotify's great, Pandora's great, but some services provide actually even higher quality streaming, something like CD quality or higher. And I've been using Tidal for the last few months and I love it. But I think maybe in a blind test, I probably couldn't even tell the difference between that and Spotify. Your room, the recording, speaker placement, your DAC, the headphones you have, that's gonna make a bigger difference than having Tidal or Spotify. But Tidal does sound amazing if you wanna go down that road. So take some time to listen to your music and enjoy it. And again, guys, this is a marathon, so we have to find new ways to make it through this together. Stay safe, happy listening, and I'll see you guys next time.